Hey everybody, what I want to show you today is how I can take some acrylic, cut it on my laser, and apply some sublimation to it, a bit of white paint, and you can turn just about any image into a keychain. I'm not going to show you the actual process of pressing the keychains today. What I'm going to show you is how to set up the files, how to take your image and turn it into a keychain file. And I'll also show you how to get the print file and how to get the cut file. So follow along. Right here I have a picture of a keychain that I did with a lobster on it for the Newfoundland Labrador tourism market. Right here I just wanted to show you that you can take just about any image. I did a little search and found that the state bird of Alabama is the yellowhammer, so I found a picture of a yellowhammer and I turned that into a keychain as well. So anybody who's into the tourism market, souvenir market, even the gift market, you can do them with like mom pictures of kids on them. Whatever you can put on it on your Photoshop, you can actually just make a keychain out of it. So I use Photoshop and Illustrator. Those are my two main tools that I use. The link is in the description below if you want to sign up for a free trial. So let's get started. We'll start with the lobster keychain. So I'm going to go into File and find my lobster image. Where did I save that? Downloads. I'm pretty sure. Download. And here we go. I got my picture of my lobster and a picture of the yellowhammer. So I'm just going to click on that, and then I'm going to hold my control key and I'm going to click on the yellowhammer picture as well. Hit enter and it should open up both. So I have my rulers turned on, and if you look in the properties here, you can see that that's really, really big. It's 41 inches by 41.93. We want to size that down to roughly around the size of the key tag. So the key tags that I'm going to make are about 2.5 by 2.5. So I'm going to make this image. First of all, you want to change it to 300 pixels per inch so that when it prints nice and clear. And I'm going to change this to 2.5, 2.5. So you see that it's a little smaller. It's still only showing at 25%. So I'm going to zoom that in. I'm going to hold my Alt key and roll my mouse wheel. Okay, so that's the basis for our yellowhammer keychain. So what we want to do now is we want to add some more canvas space around that. We need a little bit of blank space. So I'm going to go into image. I'm going to go into canvas size, and I'm going to add 1.5 inches to each side of this. So I'm going to go, let's just make it 5 inches. That'll give us lots of space to play with. Okay, so now you can see we got lots of space to add things. So the first thing we want to do, if you just want to do a keychain like this, you can certainly do it without adding any text or banners or anything. But I like to add a banner. If it's for a souvenir, you want to have like a place name or something like that on it. I don't have my layers palette enabled. If you don't have your layers, you can just go into Window and turn on your layers. So I only have one layer right now, and that's my little bird. So I'm going to add a new layer, and to do that, I'm going to hit Control Alt and the letter N as in Nancy. Oops, maybe not. Shift Alt N. There. Shift Control N gives you a new layer. You don't need to name them. You can if you want. Okay, so I got a blank layer right here. So I want to add a little banner underneath this stick here where I can put in Alabama and yellowhammer. So I'm going to go up here into the marquee tool. I'm going to click it, and then I'm going to right click it, and I'm going to say elliptical marquee tool because we want a kind of little rounded thing. So let's just drag that out. Okay, that looks about right. That's let's fill it in. We'll fill it in with some black. Okay, so it doesn't look right now because it's this layer is up over the bird layer. So if you just click on that and drag it down, you see that it's now down below the bird. So I also want to give it a little bit of a rotation. So I'm going to hit Control T, and I'm going to give it a little rotate here. Also, on this image, you got a little bit of rough edges. If you want it to, you could go in and with your eraser and even those out. But I'm just going to leave it as is. I'm just going to hit Enter now. Hit Control D to deselect these little marching ants. Okay. Maybe I should move it down just a tiny bit. I'll just click that layer and I'll hit Control T. And now I can just hit my down arrow and it'll move this down. Okay. Looks about good to me. Now what we need to do, we need to merge these two layers into one. So I'm going to right click on layer 1 and I'm going to say merge down. So now I only have one layer. So this is going to be our print file. We got quite a few things to add to this before we can actually make the keychain. So let's just put in what we're going to put in here. Alabama. Here I want some text. I want to make it white text. And I'll just start typing. So it's pretty big text. So right now it's at a 48 point. Let's bring that down to like a 12. And that font is a little bold and bulky for what we're looking for. I like to have a nice cursive font for souvenirs. So I got lots and lots of fonts on here. Let's see. Go up to some that I've used recently. Edwardian script, that's a little formal. This dancing script, I think that's what I used the last time. So I'm going to type in Alabama, whoops, turn off my caps lock, Alabama. Okay. So let's just move that around. I hit Control T, so now I have control of the size of this text. I have control of the angle of it. So I'll just pull that back to about right here. I'll give it another little bit of an angle. Whoops. Give another little bit of an angle. To change the angle on it, you just hover over the corner, and then you go off it a little bit until you get like a little rounded, double-ended arrow, and then you can just hold your mouse button and turn it to wherever you want it. Okay, so now I'm going to hit Enter. And now I'm going to put the text yellow hammer. So hit my text tool again, click in here again. Now I still have that dancing script. I'm going to change that back to an Arial. Let's try Arial narrow bold. And we're going to change it from a 12-point font down to a 8, I think. Okay. So now I'm going to type in all caps. I'll put my caps lock on. Yellow hammer. And now I'll hit my selection tool up here, my move tool, and I'll hit Control T. And now I can find those little double-ended arrows again and give that a little twist as well. And you can place this text anywhere you want on that image. I think that looks pretty good there. So I'll hit Enter. And I think it looks good. So now what I want to do is I want to merge all this into why don't I have, oh, okay. I'll click on my image. It won't let me merge if I'm clicking on text. So you click on your image layer, which is layer 2, the one with the bird. And now I can say merge visible. Don't say flatten image. If you hit flatten image, it'll make the background not transparent like so. And we don't want that. So let's just hit Control Z to undo that. What we want to do is just say merge visible. And that way it won't give you a non-transparent back. So I'm back to one layer again. So that's great. That's what's going to be on our keychain. Now what we need to do is give the keychain some shape. So what we got to do is we got to right click on this and hit select pixels. Excuse me, I still have a cold. Now I'm going to go into selection. Oops. Select, modify, expand. And I'm going to expand this by 35 pixels. because it's 300 pixels per inch, I don't want 1/4 of an inch. I want more like 1/8 of an inch. 1/4 of an inch will be 75. So about half of that, a little less than half of that. So we'll go 35. That'll give us about 1/8 of an inch all the way around. So you can see where I got the 1/8 of an inch put. Not sure if you can see on the video or not, little merchant ants. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to hit Control Shift N and give myself a new layer. And I'm going to flood fill that with black. Flood fill. So that's going to be our design that we're going to print. We're going to haul that down underneath the bird and hit Control D. So that's our file that we're going to print. We'll set those up on a printing sheet. Say if you got a A3 paper, you set it up on an A3 paper and you create as many iterations as that across and down, so that you only have to print one sheet for multiple keychains if you're doing them in bulk. So I'm going to merge this one down as well. Merge down. Now I'm back to one layer. So what I want to do now is I want to get these pixels again, because what we're doing right now that we got our print file done is we're going to make our cut file. So what we want to do is make the cut file a little bit smaller than this, so that it'll cut out the piece of acrylic a little bit smaller than what you have printed, but still big enough that you got a bit of a black border all the way around this image. So I'm going to hit Select Pixels. I'm going to select, modify, and I'm going to contract. And I'm going to contract it by 15 pixels. So you see right here, this is going to be the shape of our acrylic that we cut on the laser. Okay. So I'm going to put a new layer on here. Control Shift N. And I'm going to fill this in, because what we want to do now is find out where we're going to put our little hole for our keychain. So you can put it anywhere. You can put it up here around his head. I don't find that looks very good. I'm just going to put it down here somewhere. So I have this layer. I'm going to turn this layer off because we really don't need to be looking at that right now. Turn it off. And I'm going to flood fill my layer 4. Okay. So that's going to be our shape that we're going to cut out. So I'm also going to get a little ellipse here. And I'm going to hit Control D. And I'm going to make the little hole for the metal keychain. So I'm going to hit Shift to keep it keep the circle true, so that it is the same on both sides. We want it to be about 0.18 of an inch. 0.177, that's good enough. And we want it to be in about 1/8 of an inch from the edge, or a little better. You want it in far enough that it's not going to make your keychain fragile, because it is acrylic. And you want it, don't want it too close to the edge, but you want it in far enough so that when you put your little jump ring on there, it's not going to have a problem fitting around this little space here. So I'm just going to make sure this layer is selected, and I'm going to hit Control Delete, or sorry, just delete. So if I hit Control D, nothing is selected. So if I right click in here and say Select Pixels, now everything is selected, even the little hole here. So the next thing I need to do is convert that to a path, an SVG path. So the way I do that, there's a tool in Photoshop called Paths. If you don't have it showing, oops, goodbye. If you don't have that showing, you can go into Window, find where it says Paths. Mine is showing already, so I'm good to go. So there's a little toggle here, a little button. If you click it, it turns that shape into a vector path. Okay. So with that work path selected, we want to export that now. So we're going to go into File, Export, and we're going to go right down to the bottom here almost, where it says Paths to Illustrator. Paths to Illustrator. And we're going to export that work path. I'm going to just put it on my desktop. And I'm going to call it Yellow Hammer. Okay, so now that's exported. So we can turn that off. We can turn this back on. We can go in and delete this path. Delete the work path. Yes. Okay. So now let's say I want to make 10 keychains. I'm going to create a new document. I have a wide format 1500 Epson sublimation printer. I'm going to go in and say new, and I'm going to use A3 because that's the size of sublimation paper that I have. Create. Now I'm going to go back into my document here, and I'm going to go on to, I'm going to delete this. We don't need that anymore because we have the path already exported. So layer 4 can go. You just select it and hit your little garbage can here. Now we're back to our design again. We're going to right click, select pixels, hit Control Shift C to copy it, and go back into our printing document here. I'm going to hit Control V. And it's looking like we got lots of room for lots of keychains. So Control C, Control V. I'm sure I could fit them on there more efficiently. I want to do 10. Let's say we're doing 10. I'm going to hit Control V. Okay. So I'm going to group these. I'm going to hit layer 1, hold your shift key, layer 2, layer 3. Hit Control G to put them into a group. I'm going to copy the group, and I'm going to paste the group. Okay, let's say we're doing 12. Let's do 12. So you want to put them close together, but you don't want to put them too close together. That's going to be hard to cut them out. Okay, so Control V again. And we'll do it again. We'll do a dozen. Okay. All right, so if you're ready to make some Alabama keychains, now you have your print file. Each A3 sheet of paper will give you 12 keychains. And you can just print them out. When I print them out, I don't mirror the image. I'm going to do another video actually showing how to actually make the keychains, not just the designs. So stay tuned for that. If you don't have Photoshop or Illustrator, there's a link in the description below where you can get it. They have a free trial on right now. I use this stuff every day. I've tried other tools. I've tried Inkscape. I've tried all kinds of stuff. Adobe, the free ones. And it just does not have the same capability for me that the Adobe products have. I subscribe to the Creative Cloud every month, and I got access to all kinds of stuff like Acrobat, what I use for when I'm doing some document production. I have access to photo editing, video editing. I have access to Adobe Dimension that helps you do little mock-ups. There's a tremendous amount of tools on that program that you can use to get your work done. Okay, so we're going to flick over into Adobe Illustrator now. So I'm going to open up that Yellow Hammer cut file that I just created. It exported it to Adobe Illustrator format, AI. Don't get that confused with artificial intelligence. I saved it to my desktop. It's called Yellow Hammer, so I'll double click that. Say OK. So let's just zoom this out a little bit. So you can't really see it. So if you go into your layers here, I'm just going to drag this up here so we can see it better. And expand this group here. See that you have your little hole there, and that's where you put your key tag through. And then you have your bird shape. So I'm going to grab the layer with the hole and drag it beneath the bird shape. So when I get that done, I'm going to select both layers. So I have both layers selected. There's a tool in here called Pathfinder. If it doesn't show up on your screen, you just go into Window and you scroll down and you can find Pathfinder. So you can see that it's already checked off, so that means it's already visible. Okay. Whoops. I'm going to select these again. Now on your Pathfinder tool, you want to find this icon that says minus back. So whatever's on the bottom layer will be subtracted from whatever's on the top layer. So you just hit minus back. So now you have one compound path. So that'll set you up for laser cutting. So now we're going to make our SVG file. I have a 16 by 24 inch laser bed. Not everybody has that. Some people have a lot larger laser beds and some people have a lot smaller laser beds. And this is done on clear acrylic, so you can do it on white acrylic as well. I don't know how well diode lasers, I don't think diode lasers do well with white and clear acrylic. I could be wrong. So we're going to set this up. Let's say that you have a laser bed that's 16 by 12. So I'm just going to double click on that, get our artboard 16 by 12. So we'll set our width to 16, our height is 12, and we'll say OK. So now when we select our little bird here, this does not have any stroke to it. It has no foreground, it has no stroke. So we're going to change the color of the stroke to a true red. On my laser, I have a Chinese Jello 60 watt laser. I use a program called K40 Whisperer. I had actual software that came with it. I haven't got into the light burn thing. I just used the free K40 Whisperer. So in order for this to recognize my file as a cut file, it has to be a true red. So the hex code for true red is FF0000. So I'm going to say OK. And then if I click off of that, and go up here into my selection tool, you see that I have a red. So I'm going to set this up to cut. I did on my sheet of paper, I had 10. I'm going to actually set it up to cut 12 or 15. On my paper, I had it set up for 12. But I have room enough on a 16 by 12 sheet of acrylic for, I think, 15. So I'm going to show you how to get the most onto your blank acrylic. So up here on your properties, there it says transform. There's a little grid here, and wherever you have your little reference point set, that's where these numbers are going to correspond to. So this is the right hand corner. So right now this is 1.2425 inches from to the right from the left hand corner. I'm going to put this in here as 0, and I'm going to have it also 0 from the top. Okay, so now this is set up to, we can distribute these out. It's a lot easier to distribute out in Illustrator than it is in Photoshop. I'm going to right click on this now and I'm going to say transform. And I'm going to say move. So we don't really want to move this one. What we want to do is copy it and move it. So I don't want it to move vertically. I don't want it to go down any. I want it to stay in the same spot vertically. But the width of this thing is 2.7049. So we're going to move it horizontally to the right by 2.8 inches. So it shows you where it's going to end up to, and it shows you where the original one was. If you just hit OK, the original one will be gone, and the new one will be moved over by 2.8 inches. But we don't want that. We're just going to hit copy. So now we have 2. So if I want to repeat that exact action again, I just hit Control D on my keyboard. And as many times as I want to do that, it'll do it. But we don't have room for another one there. Okay. So now we have our first row done. I'm going to hit Control A, and that will select all these. Let's move this out of the way so we can see our layers here. So we got 5 layers. I'm going to hit Control G, and now we'll just have one group. So I'm going to right click on that again. I'm going to say transform and move again. We don't want it to move horizontally. We'll put a 0 in there. We want it to stay in the same spot horizontally, but we want to move it down by the height plus a little bit. So The height is 2.8345. So I'm going to change this to 2.9. And I'm going to hit copy. And then I'm going to hit my Control D to repeat that last action again. Okay. So now I have I'm going to export this as a SVG file that you can import into your laser cutter or into your laser software. And this will cut out 15 of these little shapes. So I'm going to go File, Export, Export as SVG, and I'm going to call this Yellowhammer times 15 cut file, and enter. So now you have your cut file. You go back to Photoshop, you have your print file. Your print file is a little bit larger around than your cut file, so that when you place your acrylic on it, before you flip it upside down and you press it, it has a little bit of a border, so that if it gets shifted slightly, say left or right or up or down, you can't really notice it. It doesn't leave any blank area. Whereas if you had it exactly the same size, you'd have to be so careful that it wouldn't move even by a fraction of a millimeter. You'll have a clear spot on the edge, and that wouldn't look any good. So since I created 15 cut files, 15 cut file, actually a cut file with 15 pieces, I'm going to make it so that this paper has 15 prints. So I'll just hit Control V again, and I'll slide that down here. So now I have my files all set up for my Laser Fusion Alabama Yellowhammer key tags. So I would just save this as File, Save as PNG. You can save it as a PNG, or you can save it as a Photoshop file. If you're doing these in, say it's not state specific, say you're doing something with Canada flag on it, and you want to be able to put Alberta or Ontario, or say it's an American flag and you want to be able to put California or Oregon, or change the text on it for depending on where your focus is, your customer is. Save it as a Photoshop file. Okay, I'm just going to call this Yellowhammer print file times 15 and hit enter. So remember, when you're doing this, if you do your own, that you do not mirror your image, because the image is pressed to the back of the acrylic, and when you're looking at it, you're looking at it through the plexiglass, and that's what makes it so nice and shiny and bright. So I hope you try this out. If you do, please leave a comment. I'd love to hear any comments that you might have. If you found this helpful or interesting in any way, please consider subscribing to my channel, and give us a like, leave us a comment, give it a share. Appreciate any input we can get. Still trying to grow my channel here. I like to share a little bit of knowledge that I have. I have quite a bit, actually. So if you'd like to learn some more stuff that I've had to figure out the hard way, be sure to subscribe. Thanks. Have a great day.